Pause for a second and look at your phone. Not the brand, not the logo. Imagine it as a small, dense mine. Inside its battery and circuits are cobalt, lithium, tantalum, nickel, gold, and rare earth elements. Cobalt keeps the battery stable. Lithium stores the charge. Tantalum allows your phone to handle power spikes. Rare earths create tiny but powerful magnets for speakers and vibrations. Gold quietly carries signals through circuits. A huge share comes from Africa. Roughly 55% of the world's cobalt, 38% of manganese, 80% of platinum group metals, a quarter of natural graphite, plus rare earth projects from Burundi to Madagascar. Jamaica's bauxite red mud alone holds rare earths that could power magnets and motors. Haiti's northern mountains are estimated to contain $20 billion in gold, silver, and copper, almost equal to the nation's total economic output over several years. Yet if the land is so rich, why are its people so poor? To understand, we must go back centuries, to plantations, railways, and colonies that generated enormous wealth for Europe at the expense of those who lived on the land. Colonialism was never just about flags. It was a business model. European powers carved Africa, the Caribbean, and Asia to control land, labor, and resources. Colonial governments and companies built extractive institutions, laws, railways, and ports designed to pull minerals and crops out cheaply with almost no local investment. Railways weren't for connecting towns. They were pipelines for extraction. In West and Southern Africa, lines served mines first, farmers second. On paper, they were investments. In reality, they were mechanisms to enrich Europe, while local populations remained impoverished. In the late 1700s, France controlled Saint-Domingue, a colony roughly the size of Belgium. It produced 40% of Europe's sugar and 60% of its coffee, generating immense wealth for French coffers. But this wealth came from nearly 800,000 enslaved Africans, forced to work under brutal conditions. Plantation owners literally worked people to death, replacing them through the transatlantic slave trade. This is the pure logic of exploitative colonialism. Huge profits for Europe, almost nothing for the laborers. In 1804, Haitians defeated Napoleon's army, abolished slavery, and created the first Black Republic. But France refused to accept this. In 1825, under threat of blockade and invasion, Haiti was forced to pay compensation for lost property, including enslaved people. These payments, totaling $20 billion in today's terms, drained Haiti's economy for over a century. The country had won its freedom on the battlefield, but remained shackled financially, a pattern still evident today. Beneath Haiti's mountains lie $20 billion in gold, silver, and copper. Foreign companies, mostly North American, have explored these minerals. But past deals warn of familiar risks: generous tax breaks, weak oversight, and contracts the public rarely sees. Between the 1940s and 1980s, a U.S. company shipped over 100 million tons of Haitian bauxite to Texas. Refining and production occurred abroad. Haiti received minimal revenue and bore environmental costs. Without strong institutions, the same story could repeat with modern gold and copper. In the mid-20th century, African nations gained independence. Flags changed, anthems changed, but the economic wiring often stayed the same. Mines pumped out raw materials. Finished products, cars, electronics, chemicals, returned as imports. Some governments nationalized resources or renegotiated terms but faced coups, Cold War pressures, or technical limits. The result? The resource curse. Countries rich in oil or minerals often remain poorer than resource-poor nations. Elites and foreign firms used low royalties and stability clauses to lock in favorable deals, leaving much of the value abroad. Nowhere is the gap more dramatic than Congo. Untapped resources, copper, cobalt, coltan, gold, diamonds, are worth roughly $24 trillion, nearly half the U.S. economy. Yet Congo's GDP is just $50 to $60 billion annually. This is not a story of scarcity, but of exclusion, where unimaginable wealth lies beneath the ground, yet never reaches the people standing on it. Congo's minerals power smartphones, electric vehicles, and global industries, while its citizens remain trapped outside the prosperity they create. The true tragedy is not what Congo lacks, but what is systematically taken and never returned. Congo supplies 70 to 80% of global cobalt. Chinese state-owned and Western firms control most industrial production. Raw ore leaves, high-value steps, refining, battery production happen abroad. Meanwhile, over 60% of Congolese live on a few dollars a day. If Congo captured just 20% more of its resource value, $5 trillion over decades, it could electrify millions of homes, build universities, pay teachers and nurses, and invest in agriculture and industry. This wealth is not theoretical. It is already being extracted, sold, and transformed into prosperity elsewhere. What separates poverty from progress here is not potential, but power over decision-making. With fair control, resource wealth could become the foundation of long-term stability instead of endless dependence. Sovereign wealth funds, like Norway's oil model, could ensure future generations benefit. Fair contracts could transform Congo from a resource-rich but poor country into a self-sufficient, prosperous state. Botswana discovered diamonds post-independence and negotiated wisely. The state owns 50% of Botswana. Botswana understood early that resources alone do not build nations. Institutions and leverage do. Instead of surrendering control, the state demanded a seat at the table and a share of the value. This discipline turned diamonds from a curse into a cornerstone of national development. Taxes, dividends, and ownership capture 80% of profits, funding roads, schools, and healthcare. Diamond exports remain largely raw, with big markups abroad, yet Botswana shows sustained negotiation can tilt the balance towards citizens. Africa holds 30% of the world's critical minerals: cobalt, lithium, manganese, platinum, graphite. Yet 460 million Africans live in extreme poverty. The global race for clean energy cannot succeed without Africa's resources. But supplying the world without controlling value risks repeating a century-old pattern of extraction. The future will belong not to those who mine the most, but to those who capture the greatest share of value. If countries secured fair contracts and invested revenues in citizens, billions could fund education, healthcare, and infrastructure, lifting tens of millions out of poverty. If Haiti hadn't paid $20 billion to France and could capture its $20 billion in minerals, infrastructure, schools, resilient ports, and public systems would be possible. Haiti's poverty was not inevitable. It was enforced through debt, punishment, and extraction. What should have funded schools and hospitals instead financed foreign treasuries for generations. The Caribbean story shows how historical injustice continues to shape modern economic reality. Jamaica's bauxite holds rare earths critical for EVs and wind turbines, yet without strong contracts, these riches risk repeating cycles of extraction. The Africa mining vision calls for fair contracts, local processing, and stronger institutions. For the first time in decades, producer nations are challenging the rules written without them. These reforms threaten entrenched interests, which is why they face legal, financial, and political resistance. Still, even resistance signals that the balance of power is beginning to shift. Countries are testing reforms. Congo and Zambia building battery value chains, Zimbabwe and Ghana banning raw exports, Mali revising mining codes, Botswana increasing control over diamond sales. Change is possible, but debt, arbitration threats, and weak infrastructure remain obstacles. Fair contracts are not charity. They mean realistic royalties, strong local content rules, state equity, transparency, and enforcement for citizens, not corporations. Fair contracts are simply the minimum requirement for economic sovereignty. They determine whether wealth becomes public investment or private escape. When value stays home, development becomes sustainable, not dependent. If Congo and Haiti follow this model, they could fund their own development, reducing reliance on aid. Every phone or EV carries minerals mined by real people. Will they enrich corporations or build local schools and hospitals? Every purchase links consumers to distant lives and unseen labor. The comfort of modern technology is built on decisions made far from the mine. Understanding that connection is the first step toward accountability. Africa and Haiti won't become self-sufficient through charity. They will do it by claiming what's theirs negotiating fair contracts, and controlling how their wealth is used.